Good evening and welcome to the October 15th Select Board meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. I think Sam is trying to come in through Zoom or through phone because his back is out. So, first order of business is approve the minutes from the September 10th meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Could I do a correction?
Yep.
When I read this, it starts off with the explained, the request for CIP budget to keep it down, but there's no mention of the $600,000. I thought that was pretty important. I know that the video is the actual minutes, but when I was going around, people relied on the written notes and the written minutes. So I'd like to see the $600,000 request in there. There was no answer to Peter when he asked if there were spare trucks at the end. There is a spare truck. I didn't understand why we'd have a question but not an answer. And then the other thing I noticed was that in the second sentence, it said that the director noted that it wasn't an emergency, and that was way later in the whole conversation. So when you read this, I don't believe it's reflective of the real meeting. The information's missing out of it. The 600,000, I think that's important. So I'd like to see the corrections made before we speak about it. And the other thing is I took some notes, and the reason I voted to abstain is I didn't think there was enough detail. I thought that the 200,000 in the CIP wasn't reflective of the paperwork I've received and saw at the budget meeting with a rollover and stuff. So because that isn't in here, and most people prefer to read the minutes, I'd like to see this a little bit more reflective of the actual facts. I mean, if we're voting on a $600,000 loan or looking into it, seems to me we ought to know exactly what's in the CIP, not just 200,000. And I did some work on the warrants and the end of the month expenses, and I think I came up with 116,000, but the rollover that was in the paperwork was 166 that was rolling over. So, I mean, those are the facts I needed to make a vote on whether we wanted to finance it. So I'm asking the select board to consider correcting it, putting in a little bit more information that's pertinent to this, and then we can vote on it next meeting. And the other thing I noticed is that there hasn't been one minutes that we've approved since June 6th that's even posted on the webpage, which is something, again, that the citizens need to know what's going on in the town. So these are concerns of mine that I think in the minutes should be more reflective of the actual discussion and what took place.
The minutes of the meeting, the official
I understand that.
definitive is the recording. That
Yes.
is town policy. In actuality, minutes only need to reflect motions and votes.
Right.
That's all.
I understand that.
That's all that minutes are required. So
Yeah.
this is, so if you're saying that there's something wrong in the recording, then that's something different. But,
So you don't think it's pertinent that the citizens could read some quick overview on the
because
webpage?
the official minutes are the recording. That is the official minutes.
I understand that. I saw that. And I know that it was approved in 2010 and that it was amended in 2014. And when I went on the policies on the webpage, it's not listed in the policies, so I couldn't read it. So I don't know exactly what it says, and maybe that could be posted too.
The policies are posted of them.
Not on the minutes. I tried to find the policy for the minutes.
It's in the general where it says that minutes, the official minutes of meetings are the recordings.
There's a little notation that I saw that, but I wanted to see the policy.
That is the policy because that was what was voted on.
Okay, so you don't think $600,000 requested and the conversation is important for anyone who's just going to the webpage? They have to go and see the video of a 2-hour meeting or an hour-and-a-half meeting?
They should, yes.
Okay.
Can I ask what you're talking about the CIP?
Yes, I went
Because-
through the warrants.
Well, the CIP, there was a statement that was made incorrectly, and I guess I want to clarify it too, is people don't need the money, all the money in the CIP account to buy a vehicle. It's just helping to soften to buy a vehicle, because the comment was made that all the money in order for somebody to buy a vehicle has to be in the CIP account, and that's not accurate.
No, I said that whatever.
You didn't say it.
Okay.
Somebody else
All
did
right,
in another
I'm sorry.
meeting, and that's why I wanted to make sure that that isn't what you were going off of.
No.
Okay.
I thought it was great that the town manager said he has the funds to buy a truck, because the statement was he couldn't do it without financing. And that had an impact on my
You
vote.
said it.
Yes, in the meeting.
Public.
Public.
I'm sorry, public works.
No, okay.
Pickup truck. Said he's not asking for money to buy it. He has the funds in the account. He's asking if the select board would finance.
Right.
That was
Okay.
very
No,
accurate.
no, right. But something at the budget finance meeting was incorrectly said, and I didn't want people going off of that. Okay, is what it is. Yes.
Well, I'm just trying to be transparent, which is what I ran on, is to find as much information and as simplify it as best I can. Like I mentioned on the agenda, maybe we could put a little notation in it. So if the select board's comfortable with leaving out what was requested, the amount,
No,
just because it's a
not.
video.
It's not. It's in the recording, which is the official minutes.
yeah, I understand that.
I guess my 2 cents on this too would also be where if you're adding that in there, it's putting the whole thing in there if we're going to do it with the minutes. But if you watch the recording, you're getting it from the beginning of his presentation to the end. So you get everything he talks about instead of just parts here.
I mean, essentially, what? No.
Do you want to sit here?
Man.
Sam,
Get out of my seat.
I knew it was too good to be true.
I thought you threw your back out.
Do you want
We
me,
missed you.
want me to get you a chair like this so you don't have to sit in
No.
those? Because you could sit here with Teresa.
Andrew? You can sit over here.
I mean, it, you know,
Yeah.
We're just gonna have him sit over here. He doesn't.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, we made you move. Then it's easier on
I kinda
him
like this
getting
one.
now with his back.
Forgive me.
Do you want to try this here? Because this might be better on your back.
No, it's okay. As long as I can move.
I mean, and that's that. You know,
Yeah.
the difference. The difference
All
that you're
right.
talking here is between a transcript and.
I know that. I understand.
And so we're, you know, we're not asking for a transcript in here. So,
It wasn't even
so the
transcript.
question is, does
The
you know?
intent.
So does this?
Why have anything in
the
writing?
official?
Why have anything in writing then for written minutes if it's not going to reflect, if it's not going to reflect,
Official minutes
What was asked
reflect. Official minutes reflect motions and votes. That's what official minutes reflect. Peter.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. Just a point of clarification then. The minutes that this board and other boards and committees in the town approve as part of their agendas and Robert's rules. The minutes that you are approving tonight are the official minutes that are on the video.
Mhm.
So with that point of clarification, I guess in going to Dennis's question before, then why even have a transcribed if it's not going to be to the word that's on the video for review and approval? Why not just say everyone on the board and everyone in town has access to the video archives, which have the minutes on them and can be reviewed? I guess that's just my question as a point of clarification to just rather than the disclaimer on the agenda that says the official minutes, then you just simply say on the agenda approval of the official minutes and be done with it. That's just a point of clarification.
Other discussion? We moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Next item of business is consideration and renewal of the liquor license for the Beacon.
Anybody
Wayne,
from the Beacon?
Wayne, any issues?
Just some minor things that need to be corrected. My recommendation would be conditional approval on the 5 items that I have that need to be corrected. And my apologies that you don't have a report. We got a new inspection reporting system, and I physically couldn't get the report out of that system.
Look at his pornos.
The cat bit him.
Any questions on, or is there a motion on,
A motion to approve the liquor license for the Beacon contingent upon the fire marshal's report.
Second.
discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? None? Motion is carried. Next item, consideration of issuing a business license to Rowan Conley Financial Group.
There we go.
I think I saw Zach is.
Yeah, he's up
on
there.
there.
There he is.
Hello,
Hi, Zach.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Sorry I couldn't make it in person, but I'm glad that I was able to join through Zoom. So I don't know exactly what you need to know from me, but I guess I could give a little background of who we are and then what we're doing and how it's going to impact the town. So my business partner and I, my business partner's been in business, Kevin Monroe, for 32 years. I've been in business for almost 9 years now. And our main office is in Alfred, Maine, but I have ties to Raymond. I grew up in Raymond, and I love Raymond. I was actually the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Wyndham, so I have a lot of ties up that way, and it's been a kind of goal of ours to open a place up that way, and a spot opened up, 1288 Roosevelt Trail, and it's going to be very low key. We meet with, 1 or 2 people per meeting. And at any time we might have, two couples in the building at a time. So it's going to be very low key, but we do financial planning, and we intend to hopefully bring people to Raymond. So I don't know exactly what you need to know, but that's kind of a brief overview.
So when do you plan on starting?
As soon as we get approval from everyone here. So whenever you guys approve us and we get Wayne, I believe you're the fire marshal, so to come in and take a look at everything, we'd like to get that done as soon as possible and get in there as soon as we can.
Okay, so Wayne, you haven't been there yet?
No, I've been in contact with the property owner, and we are scheduled for an inspection tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
Is there any other state licenses or permits that you need for in there, Zach?
No, all the licenses we have are all just licenses to sell products and stuff like that, but we deal with investment products. We don't do any type of inventory or anything, so there's nothing that we have to have on the shelf or anything like that. So it's all we're regulated by what's called FINRA, which is basically a regulatory organization to make sure we're not taking advantage of people or anything like that.
Okay. I make a motion to accept the business license application for Monroe and Conley Financial Group contingent upon the fire marshal's report.
Second.
Questions, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None? Motion is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Zach.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Next is consideration of business license for PR Craft Provisions. Is there anybody here from them?
Nope.
Yeah, on Zoom.
Oh, okay. And you are?
I'm Peter.
And so what's the business, Peter, and what are you going to be doing there?
Well, I'm a handcrafted chocolate maker, and I plan to expand, offer chocolates for sale, and probably starting off as a bake shop, bagels, pastries, croissants, and then possibly during the summer months expand and do some takeout food in the afternoon, early evening, for carry out only.
Is there another one I think over there too at the end of Cape Road on that intersection somewhere in there? I remember seeing it with the planning board or something. You're not with that one, right?
It's the same location, they just replaced it. That other one went out of business.
Oh, that's what I'm wondering. Okay, so you're going in where the other place was then.
Yeah, it used to be the Northern Scout Kitchen.
Yep. Okay. I knew there was one there from seeing it before with planning board because of parking. And Wayne, I'm assuming same thing with the report.
It would, the report, we've done the inspection for this facility. The only condition we would have is that they have a grease hood and fire suppression system for the grease hood. And from talking with the business owner, we're gonna have that taken care of next June and then every year after that. So that would be the condition.
Has the state done their inspection yet? Do you know?
Yes, they have.
State.
Any issues out of that? Any
No
action
issues.
items?
No issues.
It says here, it says inadequate number of service sinks on that report. And a mop sink, I think, too, within the first year of operating.
Right, it was just the mop sink was needed to be in within the next year.
I think that's redundant. I think it's saying it wasn't, and then they're asking for that amount.
This is actually the health.
That's what.
So no, when he says, so it says it's an inadequate number of service sinks on here is what it's saying. Observations and corrective actions.
Right,
Yeah, that was the mop sink.
that's. I think what they're saying is that right now there is none, and if they add the mop sink, they'll be okay. But they need to add that.
Yeah.
But is the mop sink and the service sinks the same
Yes.
thing? Is that what that is?
That's a service
Okay.
sink. Yep.
Okay. Nope, I didn't know that. So, all right. I make a motion to accept the business license application of PR Craft Provisions with the conditions that the fire inspector has put on them
In the state.
In the
and the state.
Second?
discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
The next item is consideration of signing the comprehensive plan submittal form.
And this is a standard form of the states. And that is to go with the comprehensive plan as we send it to the state for them to start their process of going through, making sure that we complied with all of their regulations and whatnot. I did talk with, and I think I included in here, an email from Ben, I did, where he explained the wording in here that the state has, saying that it includes all of the applicable required elements and that it's true and accurate. All of that language the state is re-looking at, because with this being an initial send, part of this is what we're asking them to do. Did we hit it? Did we get everything in there? So the state is looking at that, but this is their form, and we can't send, or North Star can't send the document to the state without this form being signed by the chief elected official and the co-chairs of the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, so they had no problem with us removing that one section in there.
They didn't want us to monkey with it at all for now. They wanted us to just understand they're looking at it. It's my understanding of it.
Well,
So,
I mean, yeah, it, you know, I mean, it's kind of, it's asking us to certify their work before they've even looked at it, because it's saying that, you know, it's saying that it includes all the applicable required elements. That's what they're supposed to be looking to see, if it does include all the applicable required elements. We don't know if it does or not, because that's their job to do that. So all we're saying, you know, I mean, if it said that the intent wasn't for it to do that, I'd be more than happy with that, because that's what the intent was. But we don't know if something got missed somewhere along the line. That's the state's job to look at that and say that something's missing or not missing. You know, I mean, it's, you know, it's asking us to certify what they're supposed to be doing and certifying themselves, which means, why does it even have to go there? You know, I don't know, Peter, if you've got have an opinion on that, but I mean, I understand boilerplate and the fact that, they put in things without thinking what the words actually mean, but when they say that we're certifying that it has all the required elements, how do I know it does?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, my understanding is that, first of all, what they're asking you to do is to certify a draft document. That's a little bit difficult to reconcile to begin with, since we are in the process of collecting more input from the citizens between now and December 4th, and then having a public hearing on that, which my guess would be that if there was significant response, either from the public comment period, and or from the public hearing, that there would be changes. And that's why it's a draft.
Yeah.
And then even after that, once the state receives the draft, they can basically say, no, you didn't hit this point. You didn't meet our criteria there. I will tell you that, as Ben is well aware, the state's very clear in its criteria of what items are state required to be in the comprehensive plan. My guess would be that that's what they're speaking to, because as we all know, each community is an individual community and has differences. And therefore, when they say, as applicable, there is a segment in the chapters that's required to be listed about what you're going to do about improving your harbor, which really would not really be that applicable to a basically landlocked town. So they give you leeway there. But my understanding is what they're asking you to certify is basically that all of the elements that both the consultants and the comprehensive plan have been made well aware of. And I would tell you that those were contained individually in the checklist that, although it's not required by the state, is a state checklist that is available to everyone involved in a comprehensive plan to look at. And in that checklist, they list all of the items that the state requires be incorporated into the format of an acceptable comprehensive plan. So I believe that's what they're asking for. As far as how they would, in turn, what the consequences are if you miss one of those, like I say, I don't think anyone up there is going to jail. I just don't see the state extending to that degree their authority. But I do think that what they'll do, as I believe was the history in the 2004 plan, is the first pass through the state planning board or planning office was that we did not meet all of the required criteria, that we left segments out. They sent it back to the town. The committee got together. They talked with SelectBoard. They talked amongst themselves as a committee, found out exactly what the state said you need to have in there, inserted it in to the comprehensive plan, resubmitted it, and it was approved by the state and ultimately by the town. That's my understanding.
Question. Isn't that why we hired North Star, to make sure we met all their qualifications? Isn't that one of the reasons that someone was experienced at this or not?
Sure. My sense, Dennis, is that the answer that the town got was exactly where North Star has to be, which is they're not challenging the town and they're not challenging the state. They don't really challenge anybody. I wish they had challenged us a little more, but they didn't. But enough so that I think we have a reasonable plan.
Other questions or discussion? So, essentially, what the action item is to authorize me to sign that for the select board.
A motion to approve Rolf signing the comprehensive plan submittal form for the select board.
I second that.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, next item is consideration of the general assistance ordinance state mandated updates. our
And
annual acceptance of.
I think it's long.
this it is long, and I apologize for having an 144-page e-packet. But they did make changes to the GA ordinance itself as well as the schedules. And Jenny gave you a very comprehensive document at the beginning of your e-packet, 2 pages of all of the various changes. So she put quite a bit of work into that for you. None of them seem to be earth-shattering, but I'm sure they'll be very important to the people that they get, but that are getting these benefits.
I mean, essentially what this does is updates for COLA, the subsidy amounts.
Yes.
I mean, there was no major changes in, from the county standpoint as far as changing Cumberland's rating different than it had been in the past. It's just been a COLA increase.
Yes.
When you read through this and it talks about making sure the town is trained, the administrator is trained, is that the town manager? Is that you have
No.
to read all this?
Jenny Silverblade is our administrator.
She's good. She's really
She's
good
a
at.
subcontractor?
No,
No.
She's one of the deputy clerks.
she's one of the employees. She handles all.
Oh, I didn't realize that was her name then.
Yep.
That's excellent, because there's a lot of reading here. As I read through it, I went, I'm glad I'm not
Yeah.
doing this.
Well, she is very, very good at
Yeah,
this.
there was a lot of training that went in because
I don't doubt that.
because there's and especially when you get into the confidential side of a lot of those and the reviews and all that. So,
We don't have that much though, right? What are we, $10,000, $12,000, somewhere around there? It's very well,
It's-
isn't it?
Dollar-wise, we don't have a ton, no. Volume-wise, it is going up because some of the issues that Portland is having are getting this far up north.
okay, but see the other spot that this has effect is if someone has a rental property and they're doing an 8A, this drives where those rates, what the allowable rates are and all that stuff.
Oh, I'm keeping it. I went through it and I started reading and said, there's a lot here.
So that's behind that document is that's the importance of this is it actually if someone is renting, that's what determines how much they can charge for that, and so it's important that there's some increases can be done there, but it also defines how much they get out of, how much the individual gets out of the 8A fund.
So that leads to another question. Do we monitor that? Does
No,
Jenny
state
monitor
does.
that?
It's all state.
No, that's state.
So even
The
though it
8A
says what they can
right.
charge, we don't get involved in that?
No, because
Okay.
the 8A stuff is all done through the state.
Okay, thank you.
But on top of that, we also have a community fund. The town of Raymond is one of the most generous communities I've heard of. And Jenny is able to help some folks that need the help that don't qualify for GA as well as that. So I really do thank the folks from the town that
Yours.
have given to that, all the citizens.
Thank you. This is very informative.
All right, motion to accept the new general assistance ordinance, updated.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Next item is public comment.
You need 2 of these, son? You have 2 of them.
Oh, yes, because it's an ordinance and the addendum is one for each one.
And please state your name.
Yes,
and-
Mr. Olson, my name is Ray Richardson. I live at 84 Tenny Hill in Raymond. And I had spoken to you earlier in the week about my neighbor who is a medical marijuana caregiver. And I've been on Tenny Hill for 33 years. I'm a disabled veteran. I'm immune compromised. And I didn't have a problem when this guy started his business because he had it in his garage. He converted his whole garage into growing marijuana. And then he erected an outside grow, which is 36 plants, which is located 28 feet from my property line. The problem is with these lots, they're only 200 feet wide. And when you've got that many plants without any vegetation between the property lines, all that marijuana smell and the chemicals that he sprays on it. If I look out the window, I can see Mount Washington, so all the wind comes this way. And I can't have my windows open. I can't sit on my back porch. Can't even hang laundry out if I wanted to. And I know that this isn't a quick solution. I'm not asking for a quick solution, but I know a lot of this has got to do with medical marijuana, which I'm aware of. But some issues, like odor, I think it falls upon the town. And maybe even the setbacks for these type of things.
The dentist.
It's pretty much. Also, just something else I want to add on. I have another neighbor on the other side. He's a 78-year-old man that he has cancer. And I just talked to him the other day. He didn't know what that skunk smell was. And I had explained to him what it was. He told me he had to shut all of his windows. He couldn't run his air conditioner because it still came through the system of the air conditioning into the house. So he had to shut the air conditioners off and run fans. So I just want to put it out here that, I know you're limited to what you can do, but I don't believe there's nothing you can do. I believe there's something you can do. I mean, I worked in the Navy. I retired from the Navy. I worked in nuclear weapons, and I become with this immune disease here. There's nothing I can do about that. It ain't going to go away. But the fact that I'm chemical sensitivity to little stuff, I'm allergic to everything, and all that stuff blowing over into my property. So there's a place for everything. I just don't think it's the right place on that piece of property where he's got it located. I mean, maybe if the lot was like 10 acres or the setback was farther, that'd be fine. But the way it sits right now, I should have a right to enjoy my property just like all you do. You go home and you relax, sit on the porch. That's all I'm asking for. The guy next door is growing pot, which I don't have a problem with. I want to really make that clear. But he's making all kinds of money. He's enjoying his life. But I should be able to enjoy mine. And that's what I'm asking you tonight. That's all I'm asking. So that's all I have to say.
I think there is a law that covers that, isn't there?
What do you know? What map and lot you are?
I'm map 18. I wasn't prepared for that one, but
That's okay. I just wanted to look while you were
Do
talking.
you have any solutions, maybe? I mean, I can't sympathize enough. I think when you have...
Do I have a solution?
Well, I mean, you're living there. Do you see anything that you could do for...
Well, he's erected, which I don't know how he's doing, 2 huge greenhouses. They must be 60, 70 feet long. I just don't know how he can have that type of business.
That sounds commercial.
Yeah, it is commercial. It is commercial. And he has traffic coming in there all the time, in and out, in and out. People from New York, people from everywhere. I don't know them. I live there. I wake up in the middle of the night, my dogs are barking, I look over there, they're out there trimming or whatever they're doing. Well, that's their business. My biggest issue is the chemicals, the smell, and my allergies to them, okay? And I think I should have a right to enjoy my property just like anybody else. I mean, I spent my time in the service. I get out and I deal with all these medical issues every day. I just took this pen tonight. It's $1,000 a shot. Well, without it, I'd be terrible. I would be from head to toe. I used to have the sleep with pajamas on, all wet at nighttime, with dry pajamas over them, just to be able to function. But thank goodness I got this medicine from the VA, and I'm able to somewhat, live a normal life. But this has got too far. I'm really asking for your help. I really am. And I've talked to the state. The state has looked into it, but they said certain things has to be done by the town. Odor, setbacks, and all that. So if anybody has any questions.
Even with the setbacks, I think even with the setbacks, it's still a matter of, I have a daycare and I tell the kids the skunk smell going up and down the road when the kids are saying what stinks. Do you know what I mean? When cars are going by and stuff like that. So I'm sorry you're going through this. I really am.
It's temporary, ma'am. They're driving by. It's going to be gone.
Exactly.
24/7. I can't set it on my porch. I can't open my windows in my kitchen to let fresh air in. Come on.
Is it all the time or just when they're harvesting it?
Well, all summer long. And then harvesting's even worse.
Yeah, they rotate the size. They bring in younger plants.
Have
while we're
you
doing it.
checked with a lawyer on this? I think that could be covered somewhere or another.
I'm on a fixed income, and I have protective covenants, which I know the town doesn't have anything to do with. So I said to the kid, I go, well, you know, there's protective covenants that prevent you from doing what you're doing. You know what his response was to me? Sue me. I've got plenty of money. Sue me, because he's making plenty of money. I see the traffic getting there all the time. Of course he's making plenty of money. I don't have the money to get a lawyer. That's why I'm here tonight, talking to you folks.
Let's see if we can bring an expert in from drug enforcement, so that maybe he could put some lights on at least what
Yeah.
rights we have at the next select board meeting,
Yeah,
and you could come in and speak at that time, but at least reach out to someone with more knowledge on this than us laymen's.
I think the odor part is.
Right.
I mean, whatever is bothering him is bothering other people too.
Yes, it is bothering my other neighbor.
And so that's
Yes,
an
sir.
issue.
I agree.
For-
I wouldn't want it going
Is-
on.
Is there any addressing of that in the comp plan?
Well, actually, where this is addressed, as I see it, is in the ordinances and the planning board. Basically, if he's in a zone where it's an approved home occupation, then the individual has every right to have that business there. However, in the process of that, home occupations as well as in commercial endeavors as well, there are site reviews involving noxious noise, vapors, other issues involving endangering the community. There are obviously, if this is an approved home occupation, it would be possibly up to, I mean, you can go to legal. The first place I'd go would be the planning board and say, what's your criteria for a definition that distinguishes a home occupation from a commercial enterprise? And then go from there. That's where I think you would start, and it shouldn't really cost you anything to go to the planning board and ask those questions.
Well, don't you think?
Have you
that-
talked to code yet?
Well, I started with a code, okay? And when they started building the greenhouses, I asked them, and he goes, well, they got a right, everybody has a right to have these greenhouses to grow vegetables and stuff. Well, I know I was reading in Auburn, and I was reading something in the state that they said, yeah, greenhouses to grow vegetables and what have you, with the exception of marijuana. I don't know if you folks would ever look at like maybe other towns like Wyndham or New Gloucester or somewhere else to see what ordinances they have. How do they deal with it?
You know what the quantity is he's grown in those greenhouses?
Well, he's got 36 plants. I counted them.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that would be part of the criteria.
Well, I mean, the issue, if he's medical, he's allowed 3 plants per client. And so the real question is, how many clients does he have? Because the state licensing on the medical is, has its own rules and whatnot. And the real question is he in compliance with those rules? And that's a state, unfortunately that's a state question, because they have to come, the state who licensed it, I mean, excuse me, the state is the one that licensed that facility. So they're the ones that have to then certify that it is still in compliance.
Right.
Depending on the size of the greenhouses, my understanding is you don't need 2 greenhouses to grow 36.
No,
and they're huge greenhouses.
and they're long greenhouses.
Isn't each person only
The
allowed to have?
odor, though, is nothing to do with the state, because the state told me specifically, they go, the odor is a town issue. It's not a state issue.
Well, I would go.
Yeah, it's a longer avenue to get what you want resolved to do
Yes.
that.
Okay. Yep.
This faster one is through the state.
Oh,
The
But
issue-
yeah, if you did and it got through the planning board, it got to us to vote and then went to the town and the town said yes, and then all of a sudden there's an odor ordinance.
I mean,
It'd be hard to regulate and all that, but that's a very long process. The faster one
What do you
is
suggest?
Odor ordinances
State.
and sound ordinances are very hard to do, because you have to have a measurable event. And how do you measure smell?
Well, I might.
That, you know, and, I mean, those are the things that the planning board would have.
How about
to-
my health?
Would
How
have.
about my health? Does that?
And trust me, I appreciate it. I'm looking at it from where the problems are in trying to do an ordinance to help that
How about a buffer zone?
is you know,
Yeah, but even a buffer zone isn't going to take that smell away.
No, it's not, but it's gonna dilute it a little bit. I mean, I don't know what else to do. I mean,
No,
I would say this is kind of parallel with what we went through with the solar panels. These
I
are
keep
all
looking back at Jen back there behind you.
But the new events that we're going to have to
Work out,
whether, hey, 10 years ago it was roosters. I'm just saying at some stage, yeah, I know, we're all laughing, but
A rooster.
it was people's privacy. We're in a rural town because we like the privacy.
yes.
And our health isn't very important. And I think that if there's any way we can treat this in the same fashion as the solar panels, which became commercial rather than personal use, then we have at least a tie into that ordinance that's already in place saying that when a right that we have, be it use of solar panels for a private use or the expansion into commercial, then at that stage, the town could be involved and kind of handle it in the same way. That's my opinion, but I think at least we could keep this from becoming a problem to someone else. And it might take 6 months, but maybe next year you could enjoy your time. I'm just suggesting we bring in someone who's a pro that could say 36 plants or a state inspection that we could require to see if we could get the facts before we deal with it. And don't you think we need the facts to start?
Well, I think also, yeah, I agree with you on that. But I also think too is when his business was, this gentleman next door was a home business and it started out as that and it has grown more now into that commercial and that residential area. So I guess I would call the state to say, just come look at it to see if he's within his things. And also in your area, is that technically a commercial area for a commercial business?
It's not commercially zoned. It's residential zone.
Right. But if he's doing it at a commercial level,
I think what he's trying to do is use the state's leniency on, just like the solar was, they're allowing it by shoreland and by the lakes and all this. They're using the state's leniency on medical to be able to issue it there. But I think the state is the one you're going to have to call for the fastest results to see if his cards and his clients match up with how many plants.
I've called the state.
call him again.
What did they say?
Be a pain.
I have
Seriously.
been a pain. I had the legislator that she's not going to be the one that you're
Just-
running against there, or
Just Faye?
yes,
Yeah.
thank you. And she gave me somebody's name, and they called me, and they said they're going to look into it, but they never called me back.
Call him
And I had
again.
spoken to Susan.
again, yeah.
And Susan said, "Hey, the best place for you to air and come on in, and at least I know I'm not going to get a quick fix, but I still believe that the town should be involved in some way with ordinances as far as the setbacks and the type of business. I mean, if it was just a small business in his garage and he was just doing a little,
Well, right. And that's what I'm saying is it started out as a small home business or whether, and now all of a sudden
it
you
keeps
guys are
expanding
seeing
every
things-
year. It's expanding
Exactly.
and expanding, and he's got all kinds of workers over there. People like I don't know who they are.
I would also go to code again here in our town and say, look, you know, that is not a home business. Go check it out at least or get the state back in
I'm
again.
not having too much reception with the code enforcement. I'm sorry. I'm just not. Yep.
So not an attorney or anything like that, but your protective covenants. Get a copy of that, bring it to code enforcement. Let's get together before we leave. I'll look it up for you if you don't have a copy of it.
The protective covenants?
Yeah, you have it with you?
Just back.
That-
I didn't come all the way, but come a little bit.
So are you in a subdivision?
I'm in a, we have protective subdivision. It's called Raymond Alps subdivision.
Raymond what?
Raymond Alps.
Raymond
No, before Main Street.
ELMS.
So you may as well say.
Pull 'em up if you wouldn't mind reading.
Who is it, Sean?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Who was that?
I'm asking for him to read
Okay,
it.
wait a minute.
Oh. Sorry, I didn't know what he said.
Well, let's make sure that whatever gets said up there so that people can catch it.
What if we started having?
What road you said? What?
Tenny Hill. Do you have them right there?
No, I have the map, and I was looking at the map and lots. I don't have the actual covenants of, because I don't know which lot you're on.
84 Tenny Hill.
I'd be calling the state until they got so sick of me and then still call.
Okay, but we're getting a little bit beyond what we can do right here. What we can
Right.
do is we can see if we can get someone, or we can request someone from the state licensing area to come
Let's do that.
come in and see us, because at the end of the day, if we're going the ordinance route, we're looking at anywhere from a 6 to a 12-month cycle
Probably.
at best.
Yeah.
If he's in violation of an existing ordinance, then
I think it's lot 18.
then Chris could do an NOV. But I mean,
I can tell
at
you
this
about
point, there's a couple of areas to look at, but the thing is,
Map
the
8.
biggest thing is the ones that have the biggest stick is the state.
How many acres?
You're right, but there might be other people out in town that are having this same issue.
And that's
that-
why I
yes.
encourage him to come, is, because if other people come forward too and say that, listen, I've got the same issue going on, that
That may help.
helps move things along as well.
Mr. Chair, would you say what the NOV is?
Notice of violation.
Yeah, but I'm linked to the public.
So,
So, NOV sounds good, but if the public knows a notice of a violation, it would at least tell them what the route we were going is, as far
What-
as the initials go.
It may not be a notice of violation because we haven't seen it. It
well,
would
that's
be
what I'm
under the
saying.
codes, yeah.
It's got to be looked at. If it is, that is a valid route too, because then that brings in can bring in an existing ordinance and there's already enforcement that exists underneath that. So otherwise, you're starting from zero.
Man, sorry. I'm having trouble finding it now.
Well, I think we're moving towards bringing someone in, from what I just heard from the board, and you'll have a chance to come back, hopefully, at that meeting, and just having the power of the select board of the town saying we're concerned might bring someone in that has authority to answer questions and move forward.
Yeah, anything would be appreciated.
Keep calling the state over and over.
Ma'am,
If they don't
I've
answer
called
you, then
So many times.
tell them, give me your supervisor, and say, just come look. That's all I'm asking is come
Well,
look.
I think they made sometimes I think that they just come and they knock at the door. Hey, you're doing this and doing that, and they're gone. Because I have called several times, more than several.
You have to keep it up. That is the way they do it. I've been through that myself.
But I know in the protective covenants there should be no business on the property, exception of like an in-house business. There should be no structure without a permanent foundation. There's quite a few of them. That's all.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
You want me to put this on the agenda for next month's meeting and try and get some?
First, see if we can get
That
someone
makes
in.
sense.
And if
Are
we
you
can get
pretty
it in,
much
then
across
have it
from
on
Black
there. If
Cat
not,
Road?
it may be a scheduling issue. So, but let's see when we can get someone in, and then we'll get it on the agenda for that.
Okay.
And it's the neighbor to your, the neighbor beyond you or before you?
Hi.
Okay, I'm lot 15.
Oh, are you done?
Lot
Okay,
15.
so-
In the law, in the growing?
Map 18, lot 15.
16, okay.
15. 15, the one that's growing would be now 14.
We don't want to get
Too far.
yeah. I mean, what I wanted you to do is present that which you've done. Public comment generally we don't have, is really not set up for given back and forth.
Yep, okay.
So what we want to do, so we've got an action item to see when we can get someone in here, and then
Yep.
then we'll have it as an agenda item at that, and then in which case then
There's more back and forth.
generates more.
That's fine. I appreciate your time.
just to make sure he knows when we are going to have somebody in, can you get his email or phone number,
Yes,
whatever?
please.
I've got that.
You got it? Okay, Rolf has it. Okay, that way we can contact you, let you know it's on the agenda so you don't miss it.
So I had called Mr.
Olson?
Well, okay.
Yep. Okay.
So, and I asked him, I said, what, because I didn't want to come in here and look like a fool, you know, I wanted to be as understanding as I could. So he gave me a little bit of guidance, and so that's why I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Okay. So
We'll try.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do appreciate, so. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jennifer Danzig, 38 Pulpit Rock Road. So I guess I have a question. I'm coming to all these town meetings. You all know me from solar, but just to keep myself educated on how our town politics works and what the policies are and how things work. And this is kind of an interesting issue because it does sort of piggyback a little bit on the solar. So I guess my question is, so do we not have an ordinance for marijuana growing in town?
No, because the medical marijuana is licensed by the state. When we had the option was given back years ago 3 years ago, to opt in to allow it. We did not opt in, so we do not allow it.
That was for rec.
However, medical was covered by the state. So if it's done under the guise of the medical, then it's under the state. If someone were trying to come in with a new facility or whatever, then that falls under slightly different things. But the town did not opt into allowing the allowance of marijuana.
There's two different
Recreational.
No,
recreational
I my husband's
You
an
can't do-
addiction expert specialist, so I'm very familiar. Okay, so the town can't regulate it if it's medical. That goes by state laws. So there's nothing that you can do in terms of ordinances to protect the area from things like that, unless they're in violation of what the state is saying,
I think it's-
What I'm
unless.
saying is under existing ordinance, it would, can be looked at if it's in violation of an existing ordinance, that's fine, but we do not have an ordinance specific to that.
But if you have a commercial
But
business,
if it's in violation of other land use, then that's existing ordinance, and that can be taken care of that way.
Gotcha. Okay. Now
kind of like with solar, if it becomes a bigger issue that there needs to be an ordinance to address that, then go through the same steps and blah blah, blah, and then eventually it goes to vote, and then it's an ordinance in the town that somebody can look at, and code enforcement can go over there and say this guy's now in violation of a older ordinance if we have one. But as of right now, we don't have that.
So then my other question is, so you were talking about 6 to 12 months to get an ordinance. So with respect to because the planning board is starting the ordinance process now. I was just at the planning board meeting last week, and they've already set the schedule for the new ordinances, and they are going to publish, by the way, which ones they're going to do at each meeting, which is really lovely. I think following Dennis's transparency, so that at least it's not just like ordinance workshop, it's telling the public which ordinances. So if you care about those, you can go and show up. So they're starting the ordinance process now. Does that mean no new ordinances can be proposed or get on the books for this cycle?
I would get on it.
It doesn't that's not an absolute. That's what they know they've got in front of them. If there's other things that come up, then it can be looked at. You get into the whole writing, review, and all that they have to do. So there is timelines that exist, but if there's something that
You know how long it takes.
If-
There's
Well,
a
I
lot of
do.
back and forth.
I do.
I mean, just because it's not on their agenda now doesn't mean it cannot be added to the agenda.
And if I recall correctly, with respect to our solar issue and the ordinances from last year, they sort of had their workshops in the fall. They finalized them in January, and then they weren't willing to move at all, which is why we went forward with our citizens petition, because otherwise we were going to have to wait another whole year. Speaking of which, because our citizens petition was successful and we managed to change the law in solar now, in the town the way that we did, the way the townspeople wanted, and over 500 people signed that petition. I do know that the solar ordinance is being looked at as part of the comprehensive plan because it's a state issue with respect to having to have certain solar sites in certain areas. So I know the comprehensive plan is looking at that, but I also know that the planning board is gonna be looking at changing our solar ordinance in this cycle. And so I guess my question is, and maybe it's a premature question and I'll be back later, but doesn't it seem sort of premature to be changing the solar ordinance that we all just passed, especially if the comprehensive plan is also looking at it? I'm wondering if when things get presented to the select board to go on the warrant, you could have conflicting things, because we could be voting on a comprehensive plan with solar siting that is in direct conflict with what the planning board is trying to change the existing solar ordinance that we managed to do with our citizens petition. And if those two are in conflict and the voters are in June voting on the comprehensive plan, which says solar should be this, and a planning board putting something forward that says that should be that. And when I raised the issue at the planning board last week, they said, no, we're moving forward with it. And I said, that's fine, but it just seems like a waste of time if you're not working in concert in conjunction with the new comprehensive plan. And they said they were going to write the ordinance based on the old comprehensive plan of 2004. So I guess the only reason that's an issue and sort of what we were talking about earlier in terms of minutes being official and not official is a lot of times with respect to being able to sue in Superior Court, I think the minutes have to be, I think Superior Court looks to the minutes in order to say what was said. And also with respect to going to Superior Court, we now know that any ordinances in town have to follow or be in alignment with the comprehensive plan, that we should not be passing laws that are not in harmony with our comprehensive plan. So I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding the process and all of that. So it sounds like he could possibly do an ordinance for this cycle on marijuana if it's not totally regulated by the state in his issue. And it also sounds like I'm just going to have to keep on top of the solar thing to see that what the planning board is doing doesn't undermine what the comprehensive plan is doing, because that gets very confusing to the voters. Because I know on the last warrant, there was something about solar, just moving it by 50 feet. And then there was our petition and people were confused and like, well, didn't we just vote on that? Was that your thing or that thing? And it's like, no, that's not. So I just put it out there. And then my last comment would be call Senator Nangle. He was instrumental in helping us with solar. He is up for re-election. He may not keep his seat, but if you get on it with him, he did call the DEP for us, who usually rubber stamp solar, and he demanded that the DEP come and walk the site because it was such a unique site for solar. So call Tim Nangle. He's our senator, and he's very good. Tim Nangle. Nangle, and he will be happy to call the state and light a fire under them to get them to do something for you if he's not too busy running for office, re-election. Thank you.
Hi, Laurie Wallace, 36 Pulpit Rock Road. I was just looking at the Town of Raymond website, and somewhere in 2021 there was a moratorium on marijuana facilities of some sort. I'm not sure if it's still ongoing, but I did find a document dated March 2nd, and it says local authorization required for operation of marijuana establishment within municipality. A person may not operate a marijuana establishment within a municipality unless the legislative body of the municipality has voted to adopt a new ordinance, amend an existing ordinance, or approve a warrant article allowing some or all types of marijuana establishments within the municipality, including that type of marijuana establishment. So I'm not sure if this is saying that there should be some ordinance.
No, what that was saying, that was specific at that point to sales and recreational facilities.
Yep. Because they were going to start coming into town and we had to opt in.
So, yeah, and so that the state at that point Initially, the
It
state.
doesn't say that though.
Yes, well, you have to go back to what that moratorium was doing. It was because of the state law that was coming down that was in process regulating sales facilities. And so that moratorium dealt with not allowing any until after that the state had done what they were going to do, at which point then they had the opt-in, opt-out provision, and we did not it was you
took it
had
to the
to opt
voters.
in. If you did not opt in, you were opted out. But
For recreational only.
that was recreational and retail.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a gentleman that had come in and that's was asking to open it up for him, but not opening it up for everybody else. And he's not in. I don't think he's not in business now anymore. And that's when we had said, "Wait, we're going to see what the state does and stuff like that."
They all moved to Casco.
Oh,
So I'm just wondering if this gentleman would need to have a business license also? I mean, if he's running a state-approved business, but in
Again,
the town of Raymond.
you're
I
getting
don't
into
know.
questions that the state would have to.
Yeah, it's not
state
us
will
on
have,
that.
So it's.
No, I'm asking you, does Raymond need to have this business be registered within the license here?
It's licensed under the state medical
It's a-
marijuana as a
It's a state
facility.
license.
That's what, so it is in state's hands. It's
Gotcha.
it is not, the town does not license those. The state licenses those. So he has a license, but it's from the state.
Perhaps we could request a copy of the license. That might at least be something on file. If someone wanted to come in and do, I don't know how we have to work with the state, Mr. Chair, but I'm just saying that at least we'd have an information that this might arise again.
Any of those licenses should be online.
Oh,
Is that any state issued license is online be it liquor, be it that, be it medical marijuana, be it insurance,
Real estate, all that.
and hopefully the person we bring in will answer a lot of these questions rather than us guessing. Thank you for that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, all state, and that's, because they're licensed by a certain bureau, and so you go to that bureau and you pull that.
Next. Yeah, unless there's more on that topic.
No.
So, okay. Grace Levitt, Levitt Road. Couple of comments here. First, I think it was 2 meetings ago, maybe 3 now, that I brought up the fact that Wyndham had already established their committee to look at the future use of the current Wyndham Middle School once the new middle school is built for the RSU. And I have yet to hear if Raymond is getting that committee established, hopefully soon. I think it's a pretty big task to be looking at what the use of the Jordan Small School could be for the town. And I certainly hope that whatever the committee is that's put together has sufficient time to be sure they're looking at all the possibilities and really making the best use of town facilities. And if the town offices end up being there, then the town office, how might that be used? And really being very thorough. And I would certainly hope that the committee is very broad and inclusive in its membership. Again, I hope that that can happen soon, so we maximize the use of any of the town facilities and also minimize the cost to anything that would need to be done to make the best use of those properties. So that's one topic. The other topic is about traffic. And I think you've been hearing on a lot of the different committees. It was on the Budget Finance Committee recently, the Planning Board Committee recently, and there are comments in that draft comprehensive plan. When you look at that, there were comments made when the public had a chance to give some input on some things. A lot of concerns about traffic in Raymond, and I've noticed it myself. There are speed limit signs that are posted, but there are an awful lot of people that are ignoring them. And it's across the state. I've seen things in Portland Press Herald about other areas of the state as well where those concerns have been. But it just seems so prevalent. And I really don't want to be waiting for the comprehensive plan to be approved and then the implementation to be done. That will take years. It needs to be addressed now. And so I could recall, I thought it was just a few years ago, but I actually looked it up and it was back in 2013. So time flies when you are having fun. That there was that horrific accident, really tragic accident at the intersection of Ledge Hill and North Raymond Road. And I came to the town select board meeting following that accident, urging that something be done, and things were already in the works. And it was really just a few days after the accident. So I was thrilled to hear that there was already a plan to put the larger flashing stop signs, et cetera, in to help minimize a future accident there. I think it's still a problem area from what I've heard recently from the people on North Raymond Road. It sounds like it's a speedway at times, but at least there was something done right away. Please don't let there be a need to have another accident before this town does something about what is happening. And of course, you go to, let's lower speed limits on the town roads. Well, you have to be able to enforce the speed limits. That's really the issue. I tried to see, is there an app on my phone that I can measure the speed of a passing vehicle? Because they are definitely not sticking to 40 miles per hour on Raymond Hill Road. There are people that are going up the hill much faster. I can see you going down the hill, you pick up a little speed naturally, but going up the hill, that's intentional speeding. And I'm out there waiting for a school bus with a grandchild, and I just, I'll hold on to her tight, but still, there are other kids in our towns that we need to be sure we're keeping safe. So please do not wait for taking some action now. Whether it's having some of those signs that help to at least mitigate the people who are going to drive the most responsibly. When it says your speed is over and it's flashing at you, I'm not perfect. I go a little over the speed limit sometimes myself, but when I see one of those signs, I'm sure to slow down. And so again, having some of those that the town can purchase right now and set around in different places and start to track. I know they need data. I don't need data. I can see it for myself that something horrific is going to happen. And please don't let that be the case that finally spurs action on the part of the select board. Whether other ordinances are then needed, fine, whatever is needed, something needs to be done. I heard there are other dangerous intersections as well. I don't know. I'm now feeling like I'm taking my life into my hands every time I turn off of Raymond Hill Road onto 85 to head south, because they're speeding down that hill. And it's very hard to see. And, I'm very cautious doing it, but I really am nervous every time I'm doing that. And worse is coming back from here and turning left onto Raymond Hill Road and knowing that someone could easily rear end me as I'm waiting to make the turn because there's oncoming traffic. So there's a number of places in town that I think we could do better to address the safety of people in Raymond, especially the kids. Enforcement. Is there any way to reach out to the Cumberland County Sheriff and have them be more visible more frequently? I can't remember the last time I saw a sheriff's deputy car at the fire barn on 85. You used to see them pretty frequently. I
There was
can't
one
recall
at
the
the
last time
school
I've seen
this
one.
morning. However,
Well, if it was at the school, that
bring
might
up
be
a-
another issue that
an
concerns me,
excellent-
but still.
I don't know, it might be a timing
Excellent
thing, because
point.
just about
I
every
see
time
it.
I come
I
by,
got-
There's one.
all the time.
Well,
I got passed right in front of the school.
I have had people pass me on 85 over a double yellow line on a curve.
Yeah.
And I just, I won't have caused the accident because I was going the speed limit, but because I was going the speed limit, they're tailgating me and they've passed
yeah.
on a double yellow line. And it's reached a point that it's just ridiculous.
It's also the bus in front of our house too. People that aren't paying attention, they're on their phones.
Yeah.
They're texting somebody and they go through, and it's, you wish you had a police officer at every street because it's, yeah.
Well, anything to encourage more visibility of them would be very, very helpful to help with the enforcement. The one of the business people earlier that you were speaking with said he loves Raymond. My husband whispered to me, everybody loves Raymond. Everybody does love Raymond. So if you love Raymond so much, please take your time going through our town and enjoy it. Don't be speeding through it. It is a beautiful place to live, and I just want people to be safe. So anything that you can do now, rather than wait, delay, and all, I really would appreciate it. I think we need to take some action now. Thank you.
My name is Raymond.
Everybody loves Raymond.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
On the matter of the sheriff, I'd like to say something. We have, even at Public Works, both fire stations, public safety buildings have welcomed in the sheriffs and even some of the state police officers wash their vehicles. They have now have a routine change of the guard down at 302. They consider Raymond the center of Cumberland County, so there's more sheriffs than ever, and our car crashes show that. When I was chief, we did 88 or 90 car crashes here. And that number's down even though the speeding's up. And I will tell you what I learned the other day from a county sheriff, and that is state police have pulled most of the state police officers off the main road, and they're just focused on the turnpike because of lack of manpower.
Staffing.
You know, so I think it's important to know that we're a select board, but we can't, you know, and I really do wish we could fix the sign that I guess the town owns. I understand that Public Works has one that is a flashing sign. I heard that, I read it in the comprehensive plan, I think, or heard it at the meeting. So that's something maybe we could fix and rotate around.
I think it was waiting for a part.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, get one fix first, it'd be a good, you know.
Not if we're waiting months for a part, but still.
My point was that there are probably more sheriffs here than we have in years.
Okay.
As bad as it is.
Linda Pankowitz, 9 Pulpit Rock Road. I'm just up here to second whatever that woman said. I've been on Main Street and had people doing maybe a little bit over the speed limit, but I've had people come behind me and push, you know, they get on your bumper and then pass me on a double line. We're talking Main Street. And then cruise down 121 like they were still on 302.
We probably should have never
That
repaved
the
it.
line
when they had it all scalped down to nothing, boy, they were just, you know, people had problems going 15 miles an hour.
Look at Gore Road. It's become they used to lose tires in there. Now it's a speedway.
As soon as the paving went down, then as soon as you get a good road,
Raymond's roads are way
the
too
speeds
smooth
go,
and nice.
the
That's pretty
speed
much
goes
it.
up.
maybe we need to bring back dirt roads and horse carriages. I wouldn't mind.
You don't speed. You don't speed in New Gloucester.
Raiders.
I'll just be real quick. Sean McKillop, 84 Main Street, Budget Finance Committee. I know Teresa was at our last meeting and we were talking about it, but a few citizens have bring up the same thing. So just want to let you know that the citizens said the same thing you say. We don't need fancy stuff. You see it because it's right on our bumper. But just want to give Nathan a shout out because he said that he was going to get a sign that he can borrow for the time being. I know it's not the solution, but at least that was something instead of waiting for a part to get fixed. So I think the idea is to collect some data. I know nobody wants to hear that so much, but we want to collect some data and then bring to the selectmen potentially for next budget cycle about hiring some sheriffs. It's going to be a cost to the town, but I think that it's going to be a cost that would be well worth it. But we do need to get some data first before we bring that to them. But just let you know that we are working on that as a budget finance committee then, and comprehensive plan as well.
A radar speed sign says your speed slowed down $3,600.
Yeah, Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. So a couple of things real quick. Speaking as far as the comprehensive plan, everything that was just discussed the last 15, 20 minutes is included in the comprehensive plan, which is in draft form, and it's available for everybody online to read. I would say public comment on that plan opened last week and goes through December 4th. On December 4th, there will be a public hearing on the draft comprehensive plan. All that information will be collected, as I discussed earlier, and will be looked at again before the plan officially goes on to the state, or at least it will be repaired when it comes back from the state to reflect all of the other input that we get. A couple of things real quick. Absolutely. Nationally, I'll just speak nationally, the number of traffic accidents are down. Absolutely, no doubt about it. What's a fun fact, I guess I'd call it a fun fact, is that for the last 5 years, pedestrians accidents involving automobiles, death rates have gone up significantly. That's due to speed and the size of the vehicle. You don't have to be a scientist to figure that out. You know, if a V8 Ram hits you at 60 miles an hour, see you later, Charlie. That's all it's about. So that's the bigger concern. It's not, you know, whether insurance rates are going to go up or whether we're going to have more or less traffic accidents and fender benders. It's going to be a life safety issue. I hear talk about, and I understand, I giggle a little bit myself. You know, maybe we shouldn't pave those roads. Well, you know what? In some municipalities today, they have a solution for that. They're man-made bumps. And if this town doesn't want to eventually see things, and I don't believe there's many people that go, oh yeah, I want speed bumps on my road, or they're going to narrow the road by putting islands in the middle. Because that will calm traffic. I got to tell you, all of a sudden, radar display signs are a cheap and relatively soft way to go. And as far as collecting data, it is important because what I was educated on is before MDOT does anything, we go up to them and say, please do a traffic study on North Raymond Road. They'll say, where's the data? That's the first thing they're going to ask us. And if we have no data, they'll say, go get the data. And then once you've got that data, we'll look at it. And if it's profoundly indicating there's a problem, whether it's overuse or speed or whatever, they will then commission a traffic study. But they're going to be frugal with tax dollars. Traffic studies cost money. So it's not inappropriate for the state to say, show us the data. We don't want hearsay. We don't want to hear these sob stories about it's noisy past my house or my cat got run over. They want to see the number of cars. They want to see how much they're going over the speed limit. So, and the other thing is, I kind of did some pricing. And when I heard the Public Works Director mention $15,000 to $30,000, what I'll tell you, $6,000 of any of those signs is the trailer. And what we're all seeing in the community now and what is requested in the comprehensive plan is that you have pole-mounted signs that are basically mobile. They have a bracket that you can take down and put up so you can place them in different parts of the town. And they collect data and they're solar powered and they give you the feedback instantaneously as to whether you're speeding or not. And they cost about $6,000. So
They collect data.
They collect data, yes. Actually, it's Bluetooth. You don't have to climb up the pole. You just download it. So anyway, all of these things are things that I guess if we had a committee on traffic safety, might look at those things, give the select board, you know, a little bit more feedback and what these things cost, give budget finance a little bit more accurate information rather than selected information. Sometimes to scare you about how much things are going to cost. And I will tell you, I never got an answer to this question when I listened to the Public Works Director. Supposedly we got that sign from, I don't know, it was MDOT or the county. One was, the county was going to loan us one, MDOT gave us one. And my question was a simple one, I thought. Did the county give that to us broken? And if so, thanks a lot, Cumberland County. You know, because now we've been storing it for how many years? I don't know. Has it ever been deployed? I don't know. Why did we take it? But anyway, those are just a few questions. I just got something informational for you real quick.
Solar speed.
You send those down? When I saw on the agenda that the Thomas Pond Improvement Committee had submitted quite a nice document. I don't know if it was just posted incorrectly on your the website, or
No, it was, they presented at the last meeting, so that was an addendum at the end of the minute.
so that was addendum at the end of the minutes.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, I went in and just pulled up a few things real quick. So the first inventory chapter of the draft comprehensive plan is historic and archaeological resources, page 2-7. The policy statement there is pretty straightforward. Protect to the greatest extent practicable the significant and archaeological resources in the community. Also noted in that on one of the maps in the comprehensive plans is the fact that Dingley Brook, the banks of that brook, are identified in the National Register of Historic Places as containing prehistoric and archaeological sites. And what I would tell you is if you just look at the 3 documents that I provided, the first one is basically just from this year, and it's from the Casco Raymond Historical Society. And basically what it just says, and this comes from Ernie Knight, the old Cooper Mill on Dingley Brook is located on Raymond Cape in Raymond and is one of the most historic sites in town. Why is it historic? If you turn to the next one, document, what I highlighted was in 1770, Captain Nathan Jordan and Captain Joseph Dingley recorded lots in the new town, that was Raymond. Captain Dingley signed up for Lot 9, Range 2, including the outlet to Thomas Pond. That's the area we're talking about. To supply the immediate needs of the early settlers, both Mr. Jordan and Mr. Dingley set up sawmills at the mouth of their respective rivers. I think what's interesting to note here is the fact that what happened was Joseph Dingley camped out basically right about Panther Run with his partner. They were given grants by the Massachusetts Colony to set up large acreage lots in Raymond as part of payment for participating in the French and Indian Wars. Well, Joe Dingley woke up early, stole a canoe, and paddled over to the mouth of the Dingley Brook and staked his claim. So, that's part of our history. The last document just says, real progress was possible only after water power was harnessed from the ponds and streams with which our towns of Casco and Raymond were blessed. So important was it to the proprietors of the new township that they offered special inducements in the form of land and tools to whoever would become mill operators at the best mill site, as decreed by the proprietors in 1771. They did not provide a mill at that time, but Joseph Dingley did. In 1771, over on that site in his race with Dominicus Jordan, to be the first claimant of land and settle Lot 9 in the second range, which included the outlet of Thomas Pond, and offered to build a mill there. And so Raymond Town had a mill fit for sawing boards by June 1772 and fit to ground corn by that fall. And the new town was ready to grow. I just use these to make the case that if there is additional monies needed to support the repair of that dam, that is basically on Dingley, that Dingley Brook, even though we're not talking about restoring the mill, everything downstream of that is historical. And, we've spent a lot of time in the comprehensive plan, I would say the bulk of our time, looking forward. It's even called forward, right? Looking at the next 10 to 20 years. But it's interesting to note that the first chapter that the state requires for us to write is our historical background and making a commitment to conserve our historical sites. And that means investment by the town. It almost means we are obligated to appropriate money to maintain those historical sites and archaeologic sites. And unfortunately, one of the things, although it's recommended in the draft comprehensive plan, is that we make a comprehensive list of all the historical and archaeologic sites in Raymond, including their potential, and list those and start investigating how best to preserve them. That's a recommendation in the draft comprehensive plan. So I would encourage any thoughts going down the road as far as assisting in repairing that dam, it'd be given your greatest consideration. There was a disaster last summer in which it was a different problem, but a dam gate failed. And the Presumpscot flooded over and took out an entire beach and recreational area. I believe in Wyndham.
Okay.
Park.
But I think if you remember, Peter, at that meeting, we said we were we were all for supporting it. It's just because they weren't going to need the money until after into the next budget cycle.
Sure.
It would go into the next budget.
And I appreciate that, Mr. Chair, and I do recall that. I guess I came here tonight to support, thinking that maybe they were coming back, the Thomas Pond Improvement Committee, to ask for that money or some action in that money. But I guess my point being this one, it is included in the comprehensive plan. There's a lot of the things that are included in the comprehensive plan. All of the committees need to be on the same page when this goes. I have talked till I'm blue in the face to make this as abundantly clear as I can, unless someone can correct me otherwise. The comprehensive plan of a municipality has no statutory standing as far as the law is concerned, except that the town cannot make ordinances that conflict with the basic intent of the comprehensive plan. And I believe that was alluded to earlier. And so I believe, and I may be wrong here, but my sense is that from 2004, when the last comprehensive plan was adopted by this town, until currently, and I still hear the echoes of it, it's kind of like, well, the comprehensive plan is just advisory. Well, it's a little bit more than that. And I would tell you that the only way that some individuals are going to be impressed with that is when the Superior Court makes a ruling on the municipality about whether they passed an ordinance that is not consistent with their comprehensive plan that was voted by the citizens. So I will just say that one more time. And more, I believe that in the town there has to be more in the way of understanding. I'm personally not trying to overreach and say that the overriding committee in this town and what runs this town is the comprehensive plan. It doesn't. It's easy enough for me to defend that because you know what? The comprehensive plan really had nothing to do other than to collect the data and format it so the state would accept it. Everything that's in that plan came from the citizens.
So when are we voting on this comp plan?
My understanding, Teresa, is that after the state gets that application,
Yep.
one of the state requirements that you just committed to was that we have an open public comment period on the draft, which is ongoing now, that we have a public hearing on the draft, and that simultaneously, supposedly, the planning office of the town of the state is going to be looking for compliance of the state requirements. That can take up to 90 days and maybe even longer from the time that the state receives it. So, and I can tell you that, my understanding of the number of communities that are doing comprehensive plans right now, it shouldn't take 90 days. There just aren't that many out there. But once again, the gentleman before us saying, what? It takes 6 months to a year to get an ordinance change. Well, yeah, it does take that amount of time to do those things. So anyway, once the state gives us our blessing, we've accomplished all of the state requirements, which I believe this last one is, submitting an application and having the open comment period and having the public hearing. Then there will be another public hearing, I believe, once the SelectBoard puts it on the warrant. Then there will be another opportunity for comments. And my guess is that if there was enough of an outcry from the community saying, no, this isn't what we meant, this isn't what we thought, we've had a chance to go and ask questions, and we don't like this at all, I believe that regardless of whether the state approved it or not, the town won't vote it in. And so we'll have to make changes again.
Well, and the reason why I'm asking this is because my assumptions is it's going to be, if it's going to be on the warrants, it's going to be in June. And so saying that, why is the planning board, I guess, looking at ordinances and stuff like that kind of now? Because we're going to be crisscrossing each other with the ordinances and
you could argue that. I keep in every time I write something down, I write draft in capital letters. This is all in draft form.
The simple answer to that would be, you don't know that it will pass. Therefore, if, they have to continue with doing their job as if it does not exist at this point.
Correct.
Because if it were to fail, then they've lost a whole year on doing.
And they have to revert to the 04.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and I get
They have
that.
to go to the current one.
Yeah.
And the current one is in force until this new one is passed.
Right. And so what happens is this new one is if it's passed and then they pass all the ordinances, but they're not in conjunction with this, then the planning board pretty much has to go back and make some tweaks, is what I'm assuming.
I guess my understanding of the process, and I was involved in this last year, sometime around January, February, the code enforcement officer brings to the planning board all additional ordinance changes that have been brought to the code enforcement officer's attention over the last period of time since the last ordinances were written. I did that basically in February of last year when I brought to the code enforcement officer and then to the planning board the fact that the accessory dwelling unit size square footage needed to be increased. I brought it to the code enforcement officer. He brought it to the planning board. The planning board brought it to you. You approved it for the warrant, and it got approved at the election. So up until that point in time, I believe any ordinance can be brought to the planning board or to you. And in some cases, there can even be a citizens initiative that basically brings an ordinance in short order to be provided or approved or reviewed by the planning board. But there's a process, and the process takes time. So referring back to what the chair just said. So the planning board is doing nothing inappropriate now. What they're doing is basically saying, these are the tools we have.
Yep.
If there was one thing I learned on the years on the Zoning Board of Appeals is despite that there's this misconception that the Zoning Board of Appeals has such wide latitude in decision making, actually the amount of things that we could do were very narrowly defined. Very narrowly defined. That's just how government works. Thanks.
Jennifer Danzig, 38 Pulpit Rock Road. Just a clarifying point with respect to the planning board ordinances. The reason that we moved forward with the citizens petition is when we went to the planning board to change the ordinance, they said it was too late. And I believe that was March, April timeframe.
Yeah.
So in order to get it on the warrant and to get it approved, you can't, probably January, February is probably the planning board's deadline. You'd have to double check. But I know we went to them March, April, and they said, sorry, we're not willing to do anything. And that's when we move forward with our citizens petition to change the ordinance ourselves.
Other public comment? Selectman comment?
I guess I'd just like to say I'm disappointed that our meeting with Budget Finance got canceled, because I think that it's still not a meeting, a workshop. I think it's still a really good idea, and I like to see us still get together to have it. Because I think it airs out some things, and it helps people talk things out, and yeah.
Well, it's now in this, trying to find a date. The reason it got canceled is because some people couldn't be there. So once we can get full complements, then we'll, it's planned to be rescheduled. It's just a function of getting all the heads available.
Good.
Or the seats, however you want to put it. Other comments? Town manager's report.
One piece I wanted to make you aware of, I had a call from Basil Chigas, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing his last name wrong, from, I believe it was his daughter. The family, he passed, by the way, but the family had decided, and I believe he told the family these were his wishes, that in lieu of flowers or whatever, he wanted people to donate money to the Raymond Village Library as one of the options. He had a couple of different benefactors that he wanted to be a benefactor for. And 4 people did do that. The library received a gift of $550. So
Wow,
I
that's
really
great.
thank the family for that. And that was a very nice gesture
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
and will be very well used. The library's been very good with the monies they've used. And other than that, we have upcoming meetings November 7th. That is a Thursday. Bill's going to be one busy videographer that week before he heads off for Hawaii. But it's when you say the end of that sentence, it's hard to feel bad for him.
Yeah.
So that's the November meeting. And then December, the second Tuesday is December 10th.
No other business?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.